we are with another guitar from Paul Reed Smith. This time it's the SE Hollowbody II Piezo. And I've spent some time playing this, got to know it a little bit, and I think I figured out the best way to use it. The electronics on this guitar, as the name indicates, and it's proudly stated right here on the truss rod cover, has a piezo acoustic style pickup built into this bridge. That is what sets it apart. Besides that, you've got your typical dual humbucker setup here with your three-way switch, similar to how you'd have on a Les Paul or any of their other guitars that have two humbuckers. You do have a master volume control for the electric side and a master tone for the entire guitar, and we'll get to that in a minute. Here, you have two output jacks and a battery compartment. The reason why you have two output jacks is because this thing is very versatile. And like I said, you have the acoustic piezo bridge as well as the magnetic pickups, and those outputs allow you to do a few different things. So the first configuration is just your magnetic pickups. This guitar does this really well. It sounds phenomenal in this position. So the second way to use this guitar, and what I think is the best way, is to use two cables. You plug one into each of the output jacks on the guitar, and what this does is it gives you full control over both sides separately. You send your piezo acoustic pickup to one place, whether that be an acoustic amp or a DI box going directly into a mixer for the PA or into your recording interface, and then you send the other side straight to your amp or your pedal board or some type of emulator that you might be using, and that way you have two completely different signal paths that you can treat completely differently. And then post-production or at the mixing board, you can blend the two. So the third way you can use this guitar is, to me, the least ideal, the least desirable. When you plug into the mix piezo output only, you can mix in each side as much as you want, and they're both coming out of that single cable. Convenience-wise, this is great. It gives you one cable. You don't have to worry about setting up some multi-cable rig. But the problem with this is that you're sending that acoustic signal to your electric amplifier or your amp modeler or whatever you're using as your main electric rig. It can be cool, but I would say if you get past bringing in like 30-40% of the acoustic side, blend-wise, it starts to get into territory that just doesn't please my ears. I can't think of a situation where I would bring the acoustic tonality in to my electric setup very much with this. But again, if you're interested in blending and just having a touch of that acoustic kind of sensibility to your sound, this can work. For me, I've never really thought of having a guitar that can kind of do everything. I always switch between electric and acoustic, and for me, that makes the most sense. But there are certain situations where you might want to be able to blend the two. Maybe you can only bring one guitar to a gig. Maybe you can only afford one guitar. All sorts of needs that this type of instrument would fulfill. Even if you don't use the piezo side of this, it's there if you need it. So it might not be a regular thing, but you might come up with a scenario where it's like a one-off gig where it's like, you know what? I have 10 songs I'm playing. One of them requires an acoustic, and I don't want to bring an acoustic just for that song. I don't even want to have a separate channel on the board for that song. Here you go. You can do this. You can get by with it for sure. So that is where I think this guitar excels the most. Outside of being a very affordable, compared to the core version of this, which is like 4 times the price. A very affordable, nicely crafted hollow body electric guitar. It does allow you some versatility. And if you're somebody who primarily plays electric and only occasionally needs an acoustic sound, this might be a good candidate for you. And again, you don't always have to use the acoustic part of it. It's there if you need it. So final thoughts on this thing, because I do have to send it back to Paul Reed Smith. This is a hollow body guitar, as the name would imply. It does have a block of wood underneath this bridge though, and that allows them to use this stop tail style bridge that has to screw into something. A completely hollow electric guitar, kind of like an ES330, you're gonna have a different bridge structure, usually something that looks like a trapeze type bridge, because there's just not enough strength in the top to be able to support a bridge like this. But you know, Paul Reed Smith, as they do things a little bit differently and have a nice solid block right under this, which of course is going to add some different resonance and tonal type qualities than just having a completely hollow body. I don't know how much of a difference it makes tone-wise, but certainly it's not hurting the tone. Probably gives you a little bit more sustain. You know, playability-wise, this thing, it's one of their SE models. It's made in China. If you told me this guitar was made in China, I would never have known. I mean, the fretwork is incredible. The finish is incredible on this thing. It's, you know, it's definitely some craftsman work that goes into this. So quality-wise, nothing lacking there. It plays great out of the box. I'm sure they did a nice setup on it for me before they sent it. You know, that's not going to correct bad fretwork or just, you know, general problems that exist in some guitars. No complaints in that department. This is a color that I probably would not have picked myself, but I need to get, you know, a little more adventurous with colors anyway. This is called Peacock Blue Burst. I believe it's one of two colors that's available on this guitar, and it looks awesome. It's very striking in person. It's really cool. It shows up, I mean, it looks great on video too, by the way. Certain things pop, and this is definitely one of those things. It's mahogany sides, maple top and back with a veneer that gives you this kind of flamed look on here. So if you're looking for a guitar looks wise, that's awesome. I mean, Paul Reed Smith almost always delivers on that. They look really great. I mean, really, overall, no complaints. I mean, they included a bone nut. The tuners you could probably replace with locking tuners if you wanted. They're the vintage style closed back, which is perfectly fine. I had no tuning issues on this guitar. My only complaint might be there's no coil tapping. That's something big on Paul Reed Smith guitars. You can pull one of the knobs out and you split these humbuckers and they turn into single coil pickups. You cannot do that on this guitar as it comes stock from the factory, but I've read if you're electrically inclined, you can fairly easily do that with these pickups. If you wanted to install something along those lines and start modifying the instrument, you could. Overall, I mean, really, this thing is a lot of fun to play. It's a guitar that I just was not on my radar because I just have always thought the more traditional route of electric and acoustic. Combining the two, I did see guitars back in the day that did it, but they didn't do it very well, like the Parker Fly. If you've heard one of those or seen one, they leave a lot to be desired in both the electric realm and the acoustic realm. This, though, I think it does the electric thing really well. I challenge you to find another, guitar in this price range that does what it does on the electric side as well as this one. The acoustic, I mean, it's as good as it's going to be where you have a pickup that is seated in metal. It's not actually contacting any wood. It's as good as it's going to be. Electric strings, you name it. It's all very different than an acoustic guitar, but it gets pretty close, and it's certainly usable if you do the right thing with the signal. Again, playability, craftsmanship, all off the charts, really, really good. So that's it. This is the SE Hollowbody II. Let me know what you think. Let me know if this is something that you would even consider playing. How would you use it in your day-to-day musical life, your gigging life? Would you use it? I don't know. I'm interested to know. I'm interested to see. And if you enjoyed this, please check out these videos over here, and we'll see you next time.